What a long season. What a crazy year. We have finally hit the postseason. A lot of us, and I'm one of them, at the start of the year, really through halfway of the season, did not believe that the Philadelphia Eagles had enough to get here. They come off that awful loss that nobody's going to care or even remember Saturday against the Cowboys. We can move on from that. And now we know it's the Tampa Bay Bucs. We know that it's Tom Brady. Look, once this season is over, we will look back collectively. All of us here on Philly Voice will join us on post-flight, and we will look back at the season that was the Eagles, the ups, the downs, the belief, the disbelief, how they turned this thing into a winner. Right now, though, the focus has to be on the Bucs. It has to be on this playoff game, and a couple of things that should jump out right away. First is the Bucs beat the Eagles earlier in the year. One, it's really difficult to beat a team twice. Two, they actually got a firsthand view of Jalen Hurts. One thing works. The first works for the Eagles. The other doesn't really work at all for the Eagles, more in the Bucs' favor. I'll explain. As far as Jalen Hurts is concerned, as far as the Bucs, let's work in reverse, seeing him already, it's really difficult to prepare for Hurts' speed. It's just difficult to prepare for his abilities, his agility, his ability to move laterally and north-south as well, especially when things break down in the pocket. But once you've seen him, it's a little bit easier to prepare. It's a little bit easier to look at film and understand what that guy means from both film and in real life, how fast he's moving out there across the field. You can remember that. You go back to muscle memory with that as opposed to just preparing for him the first time around. So I definitely think that that's going to work in the Bucs defense favor. But ultimately, it's trying to stop a bullet. It's trying to stop a missile. It's trying to stop somebody in Hurts who is so damn fast, especially when he's picking up, hitting you on an angle, because it's a breakdown of coverage. It's a breakdown of protection. Hurts has to escape, and he's one, if not the best. There's also design runs and other things in which the offense here is going to do everything they can to get Jalen Hurts the football. So really, when you look at this game, and this is now as difficult as it is to beat a team twice or even three times, as we see in division, if a team's lucky enough to place them again in the postseason. It's hard. It's really difficult. And the Eagles have a weapon right now in Hurts that has not been slowed down in months. Maybe in the air, if that's really the game in which the Bucs are trying to drag the Eagles into. But the Birds are going to have an opportunity. Even if they give up an opening touchdown, they're going to have an opportunity to just stay the course. Use Jalen Hurts. You sat him out last week for a reason against the Cowboys. This is how you have to attack this game. You want to beat the Bucs, you need to have the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands as much as humanly possible. Yes, run the football, throw the football. There needs to be a healthy balance. But Hurts needs to be the leader. As far as carries is concerned, he has to be the main guy on the ground. Use that offensive line, run whoever is healthy. I'm not saying stay away from the running backs by any means. What I'm looking at specifically here is taking advantage of your weapon. You have a switchblade out there who can throw the football, who can run with the football, who can be deadly in an RPO. Every single time that Jalen Hurts drops back either to hand off or throw the football, there has to be a threat that he can keep it. It's as simple as that. You want to beat the Bucs. You want to keep Tom Brady off the field. Every single time Jalen Hurts drops back with the football, either to hand it off to a running back or Jalen Reagor on an end around, anybody, or throw downfield to Devontae, Dallas, or who have you, he has to be able, Hurts has to be able to at least have that threat to run. Because that's ultimately going to extend drives, and that's going to stick whatever size blade they have, be it a pin all the way up to a sword, in the gut of that Bucs defense. There's no other way they're going to do it. They're not going to drop back and throw 50 times up in the air to Goddard and Smith. As much as I would like to see them throw more than usual, I don't want that. They are not going to beat the Bucs unless Jalen Hurts is the key vehicle. That's it. It's really that simple on offense. Keep Tom Brady away from the football by keeping Jalen Hurts as close to the football as possible. Move the clock and run the ball. Couple of throws, that's fine. Take some shots. This is not contradictory. This is a game plan. This is a balanced game plan. The number one rushing team in the NFL going up against the number one rushing defense in the NFL, and a team that doesn't like to throw the football, they're bottom tier when it comes to throwing, going up against a Bucs defense that you should be able to light up. Light up. Come on. You have a shot here if you're Nick Sirianni in this offense. You have a legit shot. You go out there, hold on to the ball, make smart decisions with it. Don't rush into anything. I don't know how, but you have to clean up the first quarter, first halves of sloppy play. Maybe you take less risks in your scripted plays, but you cannot allow this Bucs team to get up. And here's the thing. Even if you do, you cannot abort the game plan. You cannot abort what's worked for you. And again, everything comes in balance. What I'm saying is that if you're down 7-0 with 6 minutes to play in the first quarter, you can't turn the game plan over like all of a sudden you're down 30 with 9 minutes to go. Throw. You still have to be patient, and you still have to keep Tom Brady off the field, even if they're up by 7, 10+ points, because it only makes it worse. It only compounds it. I'm confident in this Eagles offense. I have the utmost confidence right now that the Philadelphia Eagles offense can handle this thing. What I'm concerned about, and I'll tell you after Matt Mullin and Evan Macy join us to look at this game from all angles, what I'm concerned about on our way out is the defense. Looking ahead to the playoffs, Matt Mullin, Evan Macy back on post-flight as we try and figure out all of the pathways here to success and not immediately write off the Eagles simply because it's Tom Brady. I do remember, though, we had this conversation. If it wasn't the three of us, then it was individually myself and you too. But the Bucs game, I feel like looking back at that, so much was talked about trying to explain why it was so tight. And the reality was, look, Tampa Bay did everything they can to win that game in the first half. And then things just picked up and the Eagles were doing what they were in the start of the season, taking advantage, softer defenses, etc. So what's changed? A lot, right? Let's start here. Matt, Evan, look at this game as a whole. And I don't even want to lead you, all right? You just tell me immediately, Matt, what does your gut say about the Eagles' chances to win this game? Immediately. Don't even think about it.
I don't think they're great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't think they have, great chances to win this game. That being said, there's always, a slim chance that they could win. They're not the same team they were the last time they faced the Bucs, certainly. They have nothing to lose. They have some momentum on their side. They have a lot of things that are going for them, but at the same time, they're going up against Tom Brady and the defending champion. So it's hard to look at this game with objective eyes and say, they stand a good chance to win.
Yeah, I'll be pissed against them. They're just, there's just some simple stats that really explain their season, and they were 6 against the field in the playoff, or 9-2 against everybody else. There's kind of a reason for that. I mean, they really haven't had any success against any teams that are as good as the Bucs are. And I think that the scheme that they were successful with is kind of tailored toward beating teams because they're able to either get a lead early and then kind of run it out and use their ground game, or they can kind of keep it close because their defense is adequate enough to keep it close against horrible quarterbacks. Tom Brady's not a horrible quarterback. Eagles don't score first. Their run game is not going to be as effective, and they're going to have a tough time stopping Brady. So my confidence level isn't super high, unfortunately.
The one thing that I think is going to be okay, at least that I can be somewhat confident in, and again, it doesn't have to be like we've seen it at its best, but the Eagles have run the ball against good run defenses, and Jalen Hurts is a problem for a lot of defenses unless you've seen him, right? And that's where I think so much of this game is mitigated circumstances, right? On the one hand, it's, well, think about how difficult it is to prepare for a guy like Jalen Hurts until you actually see him on the field. We heard that a lot about guys like Lamar Jackson and others who can move where it doesn't jump out until you actually see him. Well, the Bucs defense, they saw him already. So maybe that now kind of softens it up a little bit. But look, I am super confident that if they plan right, which has been a problem, and execute right, which has been a problem at the start of games, they can hold on to the football and possibly keep that ball away from Tom Brady. But, and this is to your point, Evan, and I'll throw it back, Matt, to see what you think about it, because I know I have been critical, probably to a fault at times, of Jonathan Gannon, but he's really going to have to make his money. Like, this is where we see whether or not this was all about players making plays against worse players and offenses, or if he actually has something to slow this Bucs offense down.
Right. I mean, it's been mostly from him, up until at least the last couple of weeks, very vanilla, the defense. We haven't seen a lot of blitzing. He started to bring some more pressure recently down the stretch. But again, is Tom Brady the kind of guy you want to gamble like that against? He makes a living burning teams that try to do stuff like that. So I am very concerned about the secondary in this game. I think the run defense has been, Cowboys game aside, has been very good. And I think that they'll be able to hold up their end of the bargain. And if they're able to do that and, force Tom Brady, like it just sounds ridiculous even saying that, like forcing Tom Brady into making mistakes. It's not, I just don't see that happening. That's where I think they're really going to struggle, obviously, is in the passing game. We haven't seen them able to stop any legitimate quarterback at all this year, and including Tom Brady. And while they've made strides and turned their season around, that's not necessarily the area where the biggest difference has been seen.
Yeah, and no Chris Godwin helps. Antonio Brown, we talk about him. Other people have. But if you give Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, and then some Madden-generated players, that's probably like the better than any Patriots, other than maybe one he's had. So I don't really take much like solace from the fact that they're shorthanded. I mean, they are to be a little bit easier, but I don't think that really factors in with somebody like Tom Brady, who makes Chris Hogan a household name.
I don't know. This whole thing about and look, I think what actually makes it worse for the Eagles defense is this Bucs offense comes in with a week under its belt of not having Godwin, not having Brown, having to go out there against the Panthers and still put it together. So it's not like, wait a second, who are you again? Trying to identify who he's throwing the football to, Brady, on game day, having that week. And, I kind of look at it like a pinball where you spring back, right, in order to launch a ball. So Brady has this momentum now coming into the playoffs where the Eagles, they take that week off for the most part on offense. And now it's like, all right, you can't afford to have a slow start. You have a slow start against this offense, against this team, and Scotty Miller might go for a $110 and 2 TDs on you.
Yeah, definitely need. But that has been one of the big problems. And I was saying, my father-in-law stopped over earlier today, and he was like, what do you think about the Eagles? They got a shot against Tommy, and I was like, normally this would be a game where I would say, watch, the Eagles will be up 10-7 at halftime and then lose 31-17. But with this Eagles team, I can't even predict that they'll get out to a decent start. Maybe they can slow down the Bucs a little bit in the beginning and keep it low scoring in the first half. But you're right. Them getting out to a slow start, it's not going to be, 14-7 if they get out to a slow start. It's going to be 28-7 or something like that. So they really need to make sure that they don't come out flat. And we haven't seen anything in recent weeks that would suggest otherwise.
Can you just throw? Like, wouldn't it make sense? It's counter to everything we've seen. It's counter to how this offense really clicks, Evan. I know it, but man, if you just came out and started to stretch the field against that Bucs pass defense and really had, assuming Goddard's healthy right through COVID and all, and Devontae Smith, you have guys in Watkins, even Rager, that you can send down the field. It's not like Jalen Hurts has a Bridgewater noodle arm. He can throw the ball deep too. It's not ideal, and I don't want Jalen Hurts normally throwing 35, 40 times in a football game, but you are going up against one of the best rush defenses. Why make it hard on yourself as opposed to maybe catching the Bucs by surprise? And yeah, the opposite of starting slow and sluggish of what we've seen is maybe getting up 7-0 or 10-0 on the Bucs, which is like huge if you can do that in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what led the Eagles to their current identity, right? Their offensive line is just huge and talented, and it doesn't seem to matter what running back they put in there. Huntley was doing pretty good last week. And then, Goddard is, well, I don't even want to talk about Goddard yet. Jalen Hurts, he is what he is. He's going to be able to run for 50, 60, 70 yards. The problem is, if you take out Devontae Smith and you take out Goddard, supporting cast is just disgusting. You let Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor beat you. If that's then you're going to win. Those guys are really going to do much. They can catch the ball. They can't get open. I don't know if Jalen Hurts trusts them very much. We've seen enough of those reverses to Reagor to know that that's not an effective strategy. His speed just is there. So the thing that makes me nervous is okay, say that the Eagles decide they're going to pass the ball, even if they give Hurts plenty of time behind the offensive line. There's just guys that you have to take care of, and it's easy to take care of two guys. Let the other guys beat you, and they won't.
Yeah, I think the Eagles, even going against a run defense like this, are still better suited to attack from a position of strength rather than trying to outsmart the Bucs and throw against them, because like Evan said, it's easy to stop their pass offense. They're very limited in what they can do, and if you can shut down Devonta Smith and Goddard, what's left? I mean, the only thing left at that point is Hurts taking off and running, which then it's the run game again. So
yes, and this is, I think, the biggest chess piece or element of the chess game that Sirianni has to play, which is the thing you do worst is what the other team can't do, and that's defend the pass. You struggle consistently in the passing game, like the Bucs struggle consistently stopping the passing game, and the thing you do better than anybody in the NFL, they happen to stop, at least on paper, better than anybody in the NFL. Now, to your point, we've seen this already. Remember the Denver game? We've had this conversation about really good rush defenses, and the Eagles have just come in and totally shred them. So we've seen it. We've all seen it before. It's just a matter of you don't have next week to figure out what went wrong. Are we making too much of this, though? Are we making too much of the fact that it's simply Brady and, everybody falls off at some point. Everybody, time catches up, what have you. Maybe this is a matter of too many guys around him, or you're not ready to believe that yet simply because, Matt, the guy won the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready. He threw for 45 touchdowns this year. I mean, I'm not betting against him, especially against this Eagles defense. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like that's what's tough for the Eagles in this game is what they do poorly aligns with what the Bucs do poorly. What they do well aligns with what they do well. Flip side, what the Bucs do well, passing the ball, does not align with what the Eagles do well defensively, which in the second half of the season was stopping the run. So that it's very problematic for them.
I had a thought while Eytan was speaking. I was in high school when the Eagles lost to the Patriots in 2005. If you had told my 17-year-old self that in 2022 Tom Brady would be coming off an MVP season, defending Super Bowl champion with the Bucs, playing the Eagles in the playoffs, I would think there's almost no chance of being reality. I would do the math. He's 43 years old. It would make absolutely no sense. It's absurd. We're talking about the Eagles playing Tom Brady. I know that's not really relevant to our discussion, but it's so weird.
Look, there's something to that. And look, if they beat him, there's definitely something to that because you have Foles, now you have Hurts. You just have the Giants did it twice. They ruined 2 Super Bowls for Brady. So clearly there are outliers, maybe not a lot, but there's one outlier in his postseason career, and that's the Giants because they've done it twice. Eagles could be that team too. We could look back on history and say, yeah, Brady, best ever, all these great accomplishments, but Eagles got him in the Super Bowl, and then they could end his career. Maybe Brady loses in the first round and he retires.
Am I wrong to say I kind of wish Doug Peterson was calling this game? I feel like I'd have
not wrong at all.
nothing against Sirianni, who's done a fantastic job and rightfully is in the coach of the year discussion. But if Doug Peterson was going against Brady, I'd feel more confident. I don't know. It seems like he likes to play those kinds of games that Brady likes to play, the one-upsmanship, 3D chess. So that's also, something interesting as Peterson's probably his of jobs in the NFL this week.
I like it. I like it. I can't hate on that by any means. Peterson definitely laid a lot of the groundwork for the Brady derailment by all means. Real quick, you mentioned this. We'll talk a lot about the year. We'll recap the year once the Eagles are out. Not necessarily next week. We'll see what happens as far as that is concerned. You did bring up coach of the year, and I agree with you that he should be in the conversation. But realistically, I think there are probably a couple of guys. It's not the usual suspects, all usual suspects at the top. And I think, unfortunately, somebody like Mike Vrabel is probably going to knock him off because they beat the Chiefs in the entire conference. I wouldn't be shocked simply because he kind of had a year off from the public eye of winning and dominating everything. I wouldn't be shocked if Belichick, with a rookie quarterback, got some nods ahead of Sirianni, and maybe out in Cincinnati, right? So it's unfortunate for us because we want to see the guy in like the top 2 or 3 in the conversation. And I don't think you're wrong for bringing him up by any means, Evan, but it seems like it's not just the typical guys at the top each year this year, which actually could hurt Sirianni.
Yeah, I have a very quick, and then I can pass it to Matt, which is just to say that like one of those years where there's like really, really good movies nominated for an Oscar, and this movie would have won an Oscar in any other year. I feel like the coach of the year conversation a lot of times is just between the boring, guys who have won it before and who've been there a long time. And this year there's so many interesting storylines at coach of the year that I don't know if he is the best one, but if this had happened in another year, he might actually be able to win the award.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Steve Nash was winning those MVPs just because they didn't want to give it to LeBron anymore.
Or Kobe.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So it's like that where, it was the same guys every year. So let's look for someone different. Now, like you said, there's all these different faces in there this year that probably will wind up hurting Sirianni. But I think it's just a win for him to be in the conversation.
Yep.
Like simply the fact that we're talking about him in that conversation. I mean, 8 weeks ago, no one envisioned that. People were talking about him getting fired. And now here we are with the Eagles going to the playoffs and talking about him as, a coach of the year, at least a candidate, which is crazy.
All right, 30 seconds on the way out. I don't care, win, loss, that's easy. A score. All right, Matt, give me a score. Evan, give me a score. I'll give you my score, too, on the way out, so you don't think I'm just baiting you for nothing in return.
I will go 31-17, which I think was what I mentioned earlier as a final.
I'm going to go a little more dramatic. I think it's 38-34, Bucs win. And I think that Jalen Hurts plays his ass off, and everybody's talking about how he held his own, the quarterback of the future, and he probably throws an interception at the end of the game to lose it. But I think there's going to be some offense in this game. I just have that feeling with the Bucs injured and the Eagles well rested.
All right, I'm going to split the difference here. 54-28. Jalen Hurts plays. Jalen Hurts shows up. That offense moves the ball. They can score, but it's the defense. It's Brady. It's a statement. This is one of those old Brady Patriots games where we all thought it was Belichick who comes out trying to run up the score on everybody. It's going to be Brady against that defense. So we're all on the Bucs, which probably means the Eagles win by 100. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks.
Eagles Bucs Sunday, 1:00. Get excited. Get excited. Here's the thing. This offense, we talked about it at the start of the show. Matt Mullin, Evan Macy joined me as well. We continue to talk about the positives that the offense has built, how deadly they can be on the ground, and how important, really instrumental this is for the offense to keep Tom Brady's butt on the bench and not upright on the field. Now comes the concern. Now comes the issue heading into this football game, which is not on the offensive side. It's not Nick Sirianni. It's not the special teams at all by any means. It's the defense. It's not even the players. I feel like the players, and I'm going to say this ahead of time, for a playoff-bound team, I understand this. The players, I feel, are ill-prepared to take on an offense like this. They have been through vanilla game calling. They have been through game plans that just haven't asked them to do much because they've beat up, successfully, mind you, on far worse opponents and far, far, far worse quarterback talent than anything they'll see in Tom Brady. I'm concerned. I have legit issues with how this defense has been run as opposed to how the defense has been executed. And if you don't know the difference, I'm here at Shander Show. We can have a conversation. I don't have the time to go through and break every little minute detail down, but there is a significant difference. A defense is called by the guy on the sidelines. A defense is executed by the men on the field. And plays are made either by being put in a position or putting yourself in that position. And I'd argue that Darius Slay, that Fletcher Cox, and anybody in between on that second level have been putting themselves way more in the right position because we're talking about veteran football players. Darius Slay doesn't need to be put in the right position. Fletcher Cox doesn't need to be put in the right position. Hey, if you do, then you can maximize these guys' talents to levels that we haven't seen. But just going out there and saying, all right, play football, they're good enough where they can play football. You as a coordinator, though, ain't really doing much. You're along for the ride way more often than not. And this is my personal opinion on this. You don't agree with it, that's fine. This gives a statement right here. This gives us a major statement come Sunday where Jonathan Gannon can show up and say, I belong. What I'm doing here works. I'm not just the benefit, really, of everything around me. I'm not now just getting the benefit of all of my top savvy veteran players making plays. Darius Slay's a ball hawk. Fletcher Cox is one of the best interior linemen in the NFL of the last 5 years. You've got linebackers who are benefiting from that above and behind them. Come on. You want to earn your money. You want to earn your check. You want to earn your accolades. You got to do it on Sunday. We'll have a full, comprehensive breakdown of what happens following the Birds and Bucs. Who the hell knows? Maybe the Eagles shock the world. Although I wouldn't be too shocked on offense. I would be floored if they can get this thing done on defense. Here's the bottom line. We're all rooting for the same thing. Go Birds.